Okay, so here we have a new 1350 series CV rear shaft, my customer Matt's. It's an 87 Ramcharger, and it's a beauty. We'll talk about that in a minute. We'll just go down through the shaft part here. So the ask was from Matt. This truck came from out west somewhere, and it's a gorgeous Ramcharger. Big lift kit in it, big rubber on it, and also has the signs and what he knows the history of. It's got a vibration problem in the back end, and there's a few things going on. It's got a few things going on. So basically, the driveline angle on the transfer case, because of the lift kit probably worked in a pickup truck, but it didn't work in a short wheelbase platform like a Ramcharger. So that's bad news. The good news is that it was already a fixed yoke transfer case. So that's a plus. But this thing, I drove it, and it was definitely busy. When I did the math on it, it's the driveline angle, the U-joint at the transfer case was seeing not quite 2.5 times the angle that it was seeing at the rear axle. And that was just about straight into the rear axle like you've seen, and all the angle is basically at the transfer case. Think back, all these Jeeps that get tail shaft eliminators, they have to modify the transfer case. This was better than that, but it was not a slam dunk. It's a 208 transfer case, and I was pretty surprised that I couldn't find a flange that would go right on that, companion flange would go right on that transfer case. The good news is it was the same spline as the 205, which I have in stock. The seal diameter was wrong, and the bolt pattern wasn't suitable for the bolt through. That ball stud yoke is threaded, so it has bolts come through from the back to attach it to the truck. So I modified that flange absent any other alternatives that I could turn up. I scrounged around a little bit, and I was pretty surprised there wasn't something, but I just said screw it, I'm going to move forward here. And so I modified the flange that I had. It's a new PTI flange for 205, like I said. Modified the bolt pattern and modified the seal diameter so the transfer case could retain the stock 1 7/8" seal diameter, so that makes it's not nothing special there. The special thing is the flange. Not that flange, that's my balance flange, but very similar. So, okay, so that all worked out. I did that, and then, so the running length, so basically story is getting a CV at the transfer case like they do to the Jeeps, except for the only real modification like I said, is the flange. And down at the axle end is the same. It's 7260 series going in there. We're going to talk about that as well. This is going to be a little bit, explanation. So this is 1350 series. That's a Neapco socket flange yoke, a PTI H yoke, and a Spicer ball stud yoke. Why the different components? Because the Neapco socket flange yoke is the good one. The PTI H yoke, I favor those because they're machined on all the external surfaces instead of being all rough and cast. That's a lot of rotating mass there. When you balance these things, you're basically balancing that. So the more concentric it spins and the more even it is, the better it is to balance, and that showed itself right here. Very little weight package on this whole thing. So Spicer snap tights like I always run, so that takes care of that end. Down here is the Spicer stub with a Neapco slip yoke. I'm very fussy with the slip yoke fits. I went through and selected out of stock a stub and a slip that fit the best together, so they actually had some drag. I don't like building something that's rattly from the get. So that's where that is. It's 7260 series. Now we're going to talk about the rear end. It's a 9 1/4 GM Chrysler factory 9 1/4 truck axle. They also use them in the half-ton trucks and wagons. It's got a sure grip cone style locking, well, posi unit in the back, and there's something going on with the internal parts of that. You guys are interested, you know, anybody's familiar with those cone styles, you know that has that pressure, basically a pressure, there's 4 springs with a pressure yoke that exerts pressure on both sides of those cones, and it straddles the center pin in the differential, basically. That's loose and shuttling around. So what we're doing here is adopting an eat the apple one bite at a time thing. We're taking care of the driveline angle first, and I'm going to see where it leads us with the rear differential. I'm probably sure, I'm not going to swear to it, but I would be surprised if we didn't dive into the differential later on after Matt gets some enjoyment out of this truck, driving it around this fall when the weather gets better, unless it's not 100 degrees. So this thing is cruising. It couldn't be any better. 0 at the that's the rear axle. That's going to be the rear axle. And 0 at the transfer case. Nobody home. Like I said, there's a lot of rotating mass here, and the more detail and care you put into assembling all of these pieces to get it to spin is how it pays off. This is what you want to see. So we're going to say this is a win for the Ramcharger. Get some paint on this and we'll get her back into the Ramcharger as soon as possible.